Our team of 7 manages over 1,000 mortgages, most of which we own. And I'm going to give you the secret of how we do it. The secret comes down to 3 things. The first is a rule my systems guy follows before he automates anything. And I've never heard anyone teach it. That rule turned up the one job in my building, eating the most hours. The second is what we built to take that job over. Work we all swore a machine could never touch. And the third is why nobody at my company starts a workday from zero. Because what kills a business like mine is unquestioned manual work. For years, that was us. I'm Martin Saenz, and I've spent the last 17 years managing real estate and mortgages throughout the US, both on a self-funded basis and as a fund operator. If you find this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below and let's get rolling. The secret starts on the worst night of my working life. Effort has a ceiling. 10 o'clock at night in a Buffalo Wild Wings, and I'm writing a federal proposal next to a beer going warm. My wife and I had started building museum exhibits for government agencies funded on high-interest credit cards out of our basement, so there was no plan B. We were working 100-hour weeks with no vacations. My arms would buzz from stress. I had 6 cups of coffee in me. I thought I was headed for a heart attack. Broke would have been a compliment. Effort has a ceiling, and I was living pressed against it and calling it a strategy. More hours, more output. I still hear that belief from business owners, except their sentence ends with AI now. More tools, more output. What finally changed it was a stack of paper. We wrote that little company down. Who would we sell to as our end customer? So we pointed our little company at the largest buyer of goods and services in the world, the federal government, and chipped away at that rock until an exhibits shop run out of a basement won work at the Pentagon. That paper was worth more than any 100-hour work week, and it took us years to see it. Years later, I carried the same habit into buying mortgage notes. This business is 4 jobs. Sourcing the notes, due diligence on those notes you're buying, asset management on the notes you've purchased, which is the homeowner side, and then portfolio management, which is the money side. I ran all 4 jobs with my own hands, and I wrote each one down as a system. Once the systems ran without me, I stepped out of them. People hear disciplined operator and they picture the early wake up. Fine. My morning starts at 5, out there pruning the bushes before the sun's up, like Jim Rome talked about. But in my office, discipline is a paper trail, a living financial statement. Every income stream I have, active and passive, on one page, and I review it every week because everything starts there. In a delinquency report, our portfolio manager builds every morning, every borrower, every payment, one page before the coffee's done. That paper trail is the reason AI didn't wreck us. AI accelerates a disciplined operator. It does not create discipline. Point it at a documented system, and that system gets faster. Point it at chaos, and the chaos gets faster. The first is a rule. My AI and systems specialist is a guy named Cole. Before Cole builds anything, he sits down with the person who does the work and asks one question that decides everything. What would you never trust a machine with? That question is doing something specific. It is not asking what to automate. It is asking the person to draw the line themselves, and people draw it honestly when nobody is trying to talk them out of it. Whatever sits on their side of that line is where the judgment in your business actually lives. Everything on the other side is fair game, and now you have their word on it instead of your guess. Go run that hour in your own business. One person, no software in the room, and the question in their words, not yours. What would you never trust a machine with? Write the answer down. That sheet is the map. Let the machine have everything else, and the judgment stays with the person. That's exactly how Cole ran it with our team, and his interview turned up a job I never saw coming, the one we all swore a machine could never touch. The second one starts on the phone. The most protected work in our office happens there, and my asset managers are the ones making those calls. People behind on a mortgage, a job loss, a medical bill, every one of those calls gets recorded for quality control. And for years, quality control meant a human being with headphones sampling, listening to call after call. There are only so many hours in the day, which means the most important work in the company went mostly unreviewed. Let me tell you why those calls outweigh everything else we do. Around 2005, while my wife and I were making payroll day to day, our own house went underwater and I fell behind on my own mortgage. I tried to do it right. I mailed in what I could. The servicer mailed my payments back and demanded everything or nothing. They rejected my request to modify the loan, to rework it into a payment I could actually make, for reasons that made no sense. And every time I called, a different stranger picked up who had no idea who I was. We stopped paying for 8 months while we fought them, and we won a modification in the end. I paid off that loan, holding the letter in my hand. They treated me like garbage, and that experience has never left me. So when I ended up on the other side of this business, the side that owns the mortgage, I had a choice to make on every loan I bought. I can foreclose, I can take the home, or I can make a fast multiple on my money. Or I can work with the family, modify the loan, and keep the family in the home. The second one pays slower, but it pays a lot longer. A homeowner you work with becomes a 20 or 30-year stream of on-time payments. Everybody wins, including the neighborhood. We kept families in their homes, and we make money doing it. Same move. There was a long-haul trucker who fell behind after his health gave out. On paper, he was a foreclosure. We got him onto a payment he could actually make. He kept his house, and we got 25 years of payments out of a loan that was headed for nothing. I watch what that decision does to a portfolio every day. Our foreclosure rate runs under 1%. Our collectability, the share of the money owed each month that actually comes in, runs about 93%. Those are numbers from our office, not a forecast for yours. But I had to grow up to get there. When I started buying notes, my first 10 notes were dogs. I did the due diligence like a real estate investor, obsessed with the collateral, the roof, the mold, the windows, the landscaping. I was inspecting the house instead of understanding the human being inside of it. The law says you can't contact a borrower before you own the note, so you learn to work like a private investigator. You review the credit file and O&E report, the document that shows everything owed against the property. Sometimes you skip trace a work history, meaning you track a person down through public records to see where they've been working. You triangulate data until a person comes into focus. Can this family pay? Have they been trying to? Do that right, and you buy better paper. Somewhere in there, it hit me that this was what AI actually is. The same triangulation I ran by my hand for a decade, pointed at my own operation instead of at a purchase. So when Cole told me the interviews pointed at call review, that our own quality control was the biggest time drain in the building, I didn't like it. I buy assets I control. I run systems I built. That's mandatory for me, and it was learned through very hard lessons. Handing over the most sensitive work we do, how my people speak to a family in trouble, everything in me said no. Underneath the no was something simpler, the fear of being wrong. Then I went back to what the asset managers actually said. Not the whole phone call, the conversation, the hard call where somebody is scared and a human being has to sit in with them. That was the line they drew, and it turned out to be narrower than the one I had drawn in my head. So we split the job at their line instead of mine. The routine contact, the reminders, the confirmations, the calls that are really just information moving. Those run on AI voice agents now that make and receive them on our asset manager's behalf. The hard conversation stays with a person every time. And underneath both, a separate agent listens to every call we make, every single one. It scores each call and hands the asset manager specific notes on what to do better. We went from a sample to a whole book overnight. I have more control over those conversations than I've ever did because my team gets coached on every call instead of the ones we happen to catch. 7 people can watch 1,000 mortgages because the machine reviews right alongside them. That review used to be Crystal's job. She was our portfolio manager. The machine ate her busy work and she moved up. She runs the operating system out of our whole company now. The weekly meetings, the numbers, the goals. You can find your version of this without an AI guy on staff. Look for 2 things. First, work that's already being recorded or logged somewhere but only gets sampled. Call recordings, support tickets, site photos, inspection notes. Second, the person who turns messy information into a judgment by hand over and over and who would tell you it is simply how the job has always been done. Where those 2 overlap, that's where your hours are hiding. That's your call review. Now the third, come stand in our office at 8:05 in each morning. The whole team is in a circle doing jumping jacks and high knees. I'm not kidding. Then we go around and each person says their numbers out loud and the biggest challenge on their plate. Somebody does something notable. We ring a bell, an actual bell. People hear about that and think it's a cultural gimmick. It gets 7 people moving at the same minute. The hardest part of any workday is the start. So we engineered the start. That meeting is crystals now. And 20 minutes after it ends, I know the state of the entire company. I run the same play on myself before anyone shows up. My mornings have about a dozen small rituals, pages of the Bible, because my faith guides this business and I'm not shy about that. A workout before the start of most of my work days. My living financial statement is reviewed. And one honest question, did my wife and each of my 4 kids get real time from me the day prior? If the answer is no, that gets fixed before anything at the office does. Now, the software, and this is where the owners I talk to get it backwards. Remember the 4 jobs because our stack maps onto them. HubSpot, our sales software, holds sourcing, the pipeline, and the outreach to note sellers. And the agents built on a tool called Clay run that outreach daily. So deals come in while I'm at the gym. Due diligence feeds every report into an AI tool called Claude Code. The credit files, the title reports, the skip traces, and it hands back patterns I'd miss with my financial calculator and my whiteboard. And I say that with a smile because I still use them both. Now, Cloud Talk carries the borrower's calls, the same recording our review agent scores. SharePoint holds the paper. And our Mission Control Center, which is our own system built for this business, runs the portfolio. That's where the morning delinquency report surfaces. Notice which came first. I never bought a tool and then wandered around looking for work to give it. The business existed on paper long before the software showed up. Run that test on your own business and it takes 1 page. Write down the jobs, the way work moves through your business, and then list every tool you pay for and draw the lines between them. Every tool should land on a job. Anything left floating is a toy with a subscription, and I'd cancel it before I bought anything new. Here's what those layers do while we sleep. The delinquency report builds itself overnight. Sort by who needs a call today. Yesterday's call scores queue up with the flags already marked. By the time we finish the jumping jacks, the day is preloaded. Nobody at my company spends their first hour deciding what to work on. The work is already rolling before anyone sits down. Add that to the other 2, and that is how 7 people keep pace with over 1,000 mortgages. A team of 7. If you want to know where your business stands, I built something called the AI Proficiency Index. It's a short, free assessment that scores where you are and shows you what to fix first. Take a few minutes. The link is below. Whatever your score says, start where we started. Sit down with the person who does the work and ask what they'd never trust a machine with.